Today, we are diving into one of the most talked about and controversial statements made recently by former U.S. President Donald Trump. He has claimed that China, Russia, and North Korea are secretly conspiring against the United States. This is a bold allegation that has sparked heated debates across political, military, and diplomatic circles. For many, this statement sounds like the beginning of a new Cold War. For others, it feels like a political strategy to gain attention. To understand what is really going on, we need to break it down step by step in a way that everyone can understand, from those who follow world politics every day to those who only catch the headlines on social media. Trump's warning comes at a time when global alliances are shifting dramatically. The balance of power that once seemed firmly in America's favor is being tested. China is emerging as a dominant economic giant, Russia is asserting its military presence and political influence, and North Korea continues to be unpredictable with its nuclear ambitions. When Trump says they are conspiring against the United States, he is essentially pointing towards a new strategic partnership that challenges American dominance in the world order. Whether or not the three nations are actually in a formal alliance is debatable, but the growing closeness between them is undeniable. Let's start with China. Over the past 2 decades, China has transformed itself into a global powerhouse. Its economy has grown at a rate never seen before in modern history. From technology and infrastructure to trade and defense, China has invested heavily to secure its place as a global leader. What alarms the United States is not just China's economic rise, but also its military modernization. China has expanded its navy, developed advanced missile systems, and is pushing its Belt and Road Initiative to strengthen ties with countries around the world. This strategy not only expands its influence, but also reduces America's ability to control the global economic system. Now look at Russia. After years of struggling following the collapse of the Soviet Union, Russia under Vladimir Putin has made a strong comeback. Moscow has reasserted itself as a key player in global politics. From its role in Syria to its stance on Ukraine and its energy politics with Europe, Russia is using both military and economic tools to project power. Its partnership with China has grown significantly in recent years, particularly in trade, energy cooperation, and defense coordination. Russia's tensions with the West have only pushed it closer to Beijing, making Washington uneasy. North Korea, although much smaller in comparison, adds an unpredictable and dangerous element to this equation. The regime has consistently tested missiles, showcasing its nuclear capabilities despite international sanctions. North Korea's relationship with the United States has always been rocky, swinging from high-stakes meetings to hostile rhetoric. Recently, its ties with both China and Russia have deepened, giving Pyongyang a stronger safety net against American pressure. When you put these three powers together, you start to see why Trump's statement is gaining traction. Each of them has different strengths, but combined, they could form a powerful counterweight to U.S. influence. China brings economic dominance, Russia adds military might and energy resources, and North Korea introduces a wildcard factor that keeps Washington on edge. For the United States, this trio represents a complex challenge that cannot be ignored. At the same time, we must remember that international relations are not black and white. It is not as simple as 3 countries plotting in a secret room to take down America. What we are witnessing is a natural shift in global power. The United States has been the undisputed leader of the world since the end of World War II. But history tells us that no empire or superpower lasts forever without challenge. As other nations grow, they naturally seek a greater role in global decision-making. This creates friction with the existing leader, in this case, the United States. For ordinary people, the question is, how does this affect us? Why should we care about Trump's warning? The reality is that global power struggles impact everyone. They affect the prices of goods, the stability of economies, the security of nations, and even the way we use technology. For example, when China and the U.S. clash over trade, it influences the cost of everyday items from smartphones to clothes. When Russia reduces energy supplies to Europe, it affects fuel prices worldwide. When North Korea tests missiles, it raises tensions that impact global markets and security strategies. Another layer to this story is the role of the Muslim world. Many Muslim-majority countries sit in geopolitically important regions. The Middle East, Central Asia, and even parts of Africa are often caught between these power struggles. For decades, Muslim nations have been viewed as battlegrounds for influence between superpowers. But things are changing. More Muslim countries are beginning to assert independence in their foreign policy, seeking balanced relationships rather than relying on one dominant partner. For example, Gulf nations are increasingly trading with China, buying weapons from Russia, while still maintaining economic ties with the United States. This balancing act shows that Muslim nations are no longer passive players, but are actively shaping their futures in a multipolar world. It's also worth noting that Muslim communities worldwide often face the consequences of these great power rivalries. Wars, sanctions, and political interventions have disproportionately affected countries with Muslim populations. From Iraq to Afghanistan, from Syria to Yemen, ordinary Muslims have borne the brunt of conflicts fueled by global power struggles. In this sense, when Trump raises alarms about China, Russia, and North Korea, Muslims can relate to the fear of being caught in the middle of great power competition. Yet at the same time, Muslims also see opportunities in a more balanced world order where no single country can dictate terms to everyone. Technically speaking, when analysts discuss a conspiracy or alliance against the U.S., they often look at joint military exercises, defense agreements, and economic partnerships. China and Russia have already conducted joint military drills, signaling a level of trust and cooperation. North Korea has participated in meetings that show alignment with these powers. Economically, China and Russia have been moving away from using the U.S. dollar in trade, instead relying on their own currencies. This weakens America's financial leverage. If more countries join this trend, it could reduce the dollar's role as the world's reserve currency, which has been one of the biggest pillars of U.S. power. From a layman's perspective, think of it like this. Imagine a big classroom where the United States has always been the class leader, setting the rules, organizing the activities, and having the final say. For a long time, the other students went along because America was the strongest and the smartest. But now, a few students, China, Russia, and North Korea, are sitting together, whispering and making their own plans. They may not completely overthrow the leader, but they are showing that they can resist and even challenge the authority when they want. That makes the leader nervous, and it makes the whole class wonder what will happen next. The United States still has unmatched advantages. Its military presence spans the globe. It has deep alliances through NATO and partnerships with countries like Japan, South Korea, and Australia, and its economy remains one of the largest and most innovative in the world. However, the concern raised by Trump and echoed by many others is that these advantages are being tested in ways never seen before. America cannot ignore the growing cooperation between its rivals. For Muslims, and for much of the developing world, this competition can be seen as both a risk and an opportunity. On one hand, there is always the fear of being pulled into conflicts that have little to do with their own interests. On the other hand, a multipolar world where several powers exist may give smaller nations more room to negotiate fairer terms in trade, security, and diplomacy. It could also mean less unilateral interference in domestic affairs. The hope is that instead of becoming another battlefield, Muslim countries can use their strategic position to foster dialogue, trade, and peace between the competing powers. Trump's dramatic warning is not just about external threats, it also plays into domestic politics. Talking about powerful enemies outside the country can rally support at home. It can create a sense of urgency and unity, especially among voters who feel that America's global leadership is slipping. By pointing to China, Russia, and North Korea, Trump positions himself as the leader who can protect America from looming dangers. Whether this is more about politics than actual threats is something analysts continue to debate. Yet regardless of Trump's motives, his claim touches on real dynamics that are shaping our world today. Power is shifting. Old alliances are being tested. New partnerships are forming. The world is no longer as simple as it once seemed, and the United States finds itself at a crossroads. How it chooses to respond will affect not just Americans, but people everywhere, including Muslims who live in regions directly connected to these rivalries.